What it is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about books that should be turned into movies. We're going to talk about some of our favorite literary works that we think should be turned into movies, TV shows, and who knows what else. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to The First Ones to Die.
Hey everyone, welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. My name is Jonathan, and we hope you are having a great day, afternoon, morning, night. I am here with my lovely co-hosts, Alex and Jerome. How are you both doing today? Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Haven't been doing much, trying to catch up on some reading. I've been watching the show Taskmaster, New Zealand. I've been binge watching
New
that. I've watched
Zealand.
it's been all over my FYP page for TikTok. So they caught me and they're funny. Sometimes I can't understand what they're saying, but I'm enjoying it all around. And I tell people to go watch that because that's actually a pretty good show. But it's really good. It's just been entertaining me a lot. Other than that, it's been a pretty chill week, and I'm very thankful for that. Sometimes you just need that downtime in your life to just take a step back from everything. So it's been good. What about you, Jerome? How you doing?
Good. Been chilling, watching some TV, getting work done. Main thing, I am excited about the WGA finally striking a deal with the AMPTP.
Striking a deal?
Striking a deal, that's right. They've come to an agreement, which I think is good. Like reading the terms and stuff. Maybe we'll do a video on the YouTube channel explaining it for those who don't know. Like all the parameters. But the main thing is that they're getting better pay. There are going to be minimum people in a writer's room, if there's a writer's room. That's the one thing they were very clear on, where it's like, if the show, it's either all or nothing. If the show is written by one person, damn it, it's written by one person. That's it. But if you are going to have a writer's room, you got to have a minimum amount of people, depending on how many episodes you got. They have more, better benefits. And best thing, although it's still a developing topic, they're still figuring out the AI part, which, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, makes sense. Like it's no different. They're treating it no different than they would like CG or anything, where it's like, this is the newest technology. We're not going to not use it, but it's just about, making sure it's not being abused and that sort of thing. So they made some good headway with it. The biggest win, I think, is just that they made an agreement to not train AI to write things. So you can use it, but they're not going to intentionally be giving it like programs or stuff like that to replace writers and train it on how to write scripts. It'll just be used to write scripts if they so choose. And then they won't be credited, but it won't be credited as the original writer. Or whoever writer comes in to make revisions will be credited, which is good. That's a good thing. So hopefully the SAG union will also get their chance to make a solid deal with the AMPTP. Also heard apparently like the VFX artists have finally come together to make their union. So if you think the strikes are over, think again, because I'm sure behind, even if they make a deal with SAG and now they have to deal with the WGA, I'm willing to bet, unless they come to the table with a pretty solid agreement for the VFX artists out the jump after they make their union, they're going to go on strike pretty soon too. So, and they should, because they've been getting abused for years. So it's in the year of the strike.
The year of the unions.
Yes, the year of the unions, followed by the year, and also / the year of Taylor Swift. So it's just been
year of Beyonce. You should actually
listen. I love me some Queen Bee too, but
no, I don't want to hear the second half of that. I don't want to hear the second half of that.
Hers didn't sell out the same way Taylor Swift sold out. All right,
no. Okay, are you? Because I was looking at tickets 6 minutes after it went on sale, and I barely got a seat to that Beyonce ticket.
You barely got a seat. Taylor Swift, like 3 minutes after the announcement, the tickets didn't even go on sale. Like they fully go on sale yet. There were no seats to get.
We all know why the reason that is.
She's
Anyway,
staffing. She's also stocking up all the Chief games now. A lot of people are going to Chief games.
I don't want to talk
and
about
you see
that
it,
PR
it's her people.
stunt of a
Listen,
relationship.
I'm just saying, Beyonce
Anyway.
is amazing, all right? No one can take that away from her. She is a queen in her own right. She has earned all her flowers, accolades, praises, everything. I'm just saying, we can't act like Taylor Swift ain't also in that same, like neck and neck now. It's weird because Taylor Swift used to be below. Now she's right there with her at the same part. It's like they got two separate kingdoms going on at the same time.
I heard somebody, why are we comparing these people? Because they are completely different.
But yet have the same amount of fanfare. There are people who will kill for Taylor Swift. The Swifties are out here.
Yeah, like I said, the Swifties are more crazy than the Beyonce fans.
It's because the Beyonce fans are getting old. they don't have the energy to do the stabbing and the shaking no more.
Jonathan, I'm calling you old.
No, it's just we're getting older to the point where we're just like, I mean, I would kill for Beyonce, but I don't know. I got work in the morning and, I'm tired. Like versus Taylor Swift, all her fans stay young because she keeps getting the kids. And the kids are just like, I'm ready to stab someone right now. Who needs to stab it? Who needs to die?
That's true. Young people do like stabbing.
So you're saying they should have made Swarm about Taylor Swift fans?
I mean, she's got that over Taylor Swift. She doesn't have a fictional show that's based off of her fan base.
I'm sure they could develop something. Somebody's probably working on something. You know how all those like fan fictions will get turned into movies? I'm sure there's something in the works. Some producers, some writers just scanning over through like fan fictions of Taylor Swift. You're like, what can I make into a movie?
But yeah, I mean, hey, good for Beyonce though. I think it's cool that she's got her concert movie coming out, and then also I mean, I liked Renaissance, so I'm excited for the next, because she said it's supposed to be a trilogy of albums, so I'm excited for the next one to come out. But until then, I'm glad that it is getting some fanfare, because I know it's a relatively huge shift for her musically. Like, the house music vibe is one that's hard to sell to people right now, because that's more of a 90s thing, like the R&B house mix. Not many people can pull it off, and Beyonce's doing a pretty decent job of like trying to bring it back and make it a sound again. So more power to her. I mean, if The Weeknd can make the 80s synthesizer pop sound work for him, she can make the house, like the 90s, the 2000s R&B house vibe work for her, I'm sure.
I feel like 2000s music is coming back too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Vibe. Everything about the 2000s.
The best versions of it, not the trash.
Some of the trash too.
I just hope trashy reality TV. I kind of want trashy reality TV to come back, but I don't at the same time.
Listen, I watched a whole video doing a breakdown of the entire Jersey Shore show. All of it.
Like the entire series?
Every episode, yes. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't realize how popular. I knew the show was popular, but it's like when you got 8.6 million people watching your episodes every week, I didn't know it was that popular. That's insane.
I was one of them. I'm not even gonna pretend. I was watching Jersey Shore all the time. It's weirdly addictive. You just can't. Mm-hmm. And then they try to like recreate it. The Florida Jersey Shore.
Oh, they did like multiple. They did Florida Shore. They did
Geordie Shore in the UK.
Geordie Shore. Yeah, they've done a bunch of different shore shows.
That one. I know the Florida one, and I was like, this is stupid. They're not that interesting. Can't replicate, that.
And now they have now they have like the family reunion, like spin-off shows and stuff.
Yeah, because if you think, it's crazy. They're all like, a good chunk of them are married or have kids or have these like actual careers now outside of the Jersey Shore.
Or went to jail.
Yeah, see, they have the Geordie Shore. They've got the a show called The Valleys, which is supposed to be kind of like it. Gandia Shore, Warsaw Shore,
Where is
Acapulco
Gandia
Shore,
Shore?
Spain,
Oh,
Gandia. Yeah,
didn't think it was in
Acapulco
Spain.
Super Shore, which was in Europe, Mediterranean Europe. Floribama Shore,
Acapulco?
Rio Shore, Germany Shore, Buckhead
They didn't
Shore.
even try with that one. Germany shore. Does Germany even have a shore?
I don't know.
Do they?
Is Germany
It's
by the
true.
water?
It is landlocked.
Well, so is Alabama. It doesn't touch any oceans, does it?
No, Alabama does, but that's why they say Floribama Shore, because I think they're from Alabama, but they're going to Florida, maybe. Yeah, it was set in Florida. Yeah,
Oh, then that's the one I remember. I don't remember. That's stupid. I don't
and
need
then
them to
there's
bring back more of the Jersey Shores.
the most recent one was in June 29th, 2022 with All Star Shore, which also takes place in Spain, in Gran Canaria or Canaria. So
I don't know geography well enough to know where any of those
most,
places are.
however, most of these
Rio,
have
I
been
know where
made
Rio
by.
is.
They've been up by like subsidiaries of MTV. So most of these are made by MTV UK, MTV Spain, MTV Poland, MTV Latin America, and MTV Brazil. The only two that have been made by MTV like proper was Floribama Shore and Buckhead Shore. Those were the two, and that's because those two were in America. So
That's
Well,
so bad.
so the shore runs deep.
So
Shore runs deep.
disapproving. That's all I can think in my head to disapprove.
Speaking of reality TV, I have been enjoying all of the fall TV options that have been premiering this past week because everything has been coming back. So it's kind of been overwhelming, actually, which is a good problem to have because, like, I have to wait to watch things and watch things later because there's so much coming out. The Amazing Race, Survivor, and the great thing about this season of The Amazing Race and Survivor is that they're going to be 90-minute episodes throughout the whole season. So that's going to be amazing. So 3 hours of Survivor and Amazing Race every week. We got Big Brother still going on, which it's gotten to a lull. There is what else premiered? A whole bunch. Golden Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise. Those both.
I just think it's so funny. Golden Bachelor is just like listen, Bachelor, but old people.
And it got good. It got
but
good
not
ratings.
That old,
apparently,
but you know what I mean.
it got
is that
good
all
ratings.
it is that they're older?
Yes, it's Bachelor, but it's the batch. It's the same Bachelor, but the Bachelor he's 71, and all the contestants are 60 plus.
Yeah.
So
he's 71. I don't think I saw The Bachelor. I saw the women. I was like, the women don't look that old. So I couldn't figure out what the Golden Bachelor meant.
Yeah, the whole like kind of theme. It's definitely a different take on the Bachelor franchise because they're trying to make it a little more uplifting. They're trying to make it a little more positive and like less drama than the regular Bachelor is. And so far it's been really good. And they've like really tried to flip. They're trying to flip the narrative on its head. Like this is what 60 looks like. This is what 70 looks like. And it's not like, growing up, we had the Golden Girls and that's what our representation of what 60 looks like. But now they're actually kind of like flipping that on its head.
The Golden Girls were in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah, they weren't that old.
But people, it's like that's the role they're playing on TV is that they're older than that. So then that's what people assume is like because they got white hair when they're earlier than
in
life
the show,
and stuff.
They were supposed to be like in their 40s, surrounding that age. The tallest one was supposed to be just in her 40s, like 45 or something. They were not in their 60s because they were not hitting retirement age at all. I learned that recently, and I was like, really? Betty White's character seemed like she was like hanging around the 50s, or they made her seem that way. They were all supposed to be like 20 years younger than what we perceive them to be.
But
Just saying.
60 right now is like people are doing stuff at 60, man. Working out, they're looking good. Heck, there's some people in their 50s and 60s look better than people in their 20s and 30s. So, granted, they paid for a lot of surgery to look that way, but still, it's true. It doesn't change the facts.
Yeah, so I've been enjoying that, and then this Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, Big Brother UK comes back after being off the air for almost 5 years, I think. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited.
Why was it gone for so long? Because for a second I was like, the pandemic wasn't that long, was it?
No. Feels like it, right? But no, it just got canceled in 2018. That was like the last season. And then pandemic just so happened. But before that, I remember they were saying like, oh, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. But I think pandemic kind of halted that. And so now it's officially going to be back. And then on this is my kind of last update, but on Saturday, I went to a show in LA called Angel of Light. And it was a walk-through horror maze experience / play / social interactive thing. It was really cool. It was downtown. So that's already a scary element, downtown after 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. But it's at this historic downtown LA theater, and the theater on the inside was gorgeous. It was beautiful. Like you couldn't tell where the maze began and where the actual theater ended, or where the maze ended and where the actual theater began, because it was just so seamless, and they blended in like all of the elements of the like the walkthrough experience and the play into the actual structure of the theater. It was really cool, and I had a couple friends who were performing in it, so it was really cool to see them and the show in general. And it was scary too. I got scared. I got a couple times. So
I want to do one of those, but I also don't want to. I think it's fun to do that stuff, but I also I'm very jumpy person. I blame all the horror films I do watch. But I would love to go through like a haunted thing again. I think it'd be a good time.
There was one part where we walked. Keep in mind, they had also just given. I didn't drink, but they had also just given. They had a area with the bar, so people had like alcohol and drinks in their hands, and then we had to walk through this like. I don't even know what it was. It was like 2 blow-up things that were like completely like sealed together, and you had to walk through the middle, and it was completely black. And we were walking for what felt like a minute, so you couldn't see, and you were like just supposed to like go through these 2 blow-up things, and it was cool, but it was also very scary.
Me and Ari had a haunted house that was like that, where it had these blow-ups, and you just kind of just keep walking through, and you don't know what's on the other side. You just keep going, and it's just like it is a little like what's it called, anxiety inducing, because you're like, what is on the other side of this? If I get on the other side,
I see that. I don't like. I'd rather have something just pop out at me. Nope.
And it's like you don't know how long, because it's pitch black. You don't know how long. I kept touching my friend. Through.
Yeah.
I kept accidentally touching like my friend's head, because I'm like, I don't know where I am. Like, I don't know how long it's
That's how you end up in some portal of hell, all right?
Well, I
think it's a fun little maze going through like tubes, and then like, nope.
Never me and Ari did that, and went to that haunted house that had that. She literally was like, I didn't need a belt that day, because she was literally wrapped around me so tight. She's like, she had her arms around my my waist, holding on to me. And so literally, I had to take.
She's kind of small. She can get lost easily.
I had to take like baby steps, because she was like, because we couldn't see, so we're just like trying to make it through. And I just like, it was really interesting. I'd never seen that in a haunted house before. Of course, on the other side was like a laser room, like a big laser, like with the fog and stuff, and it was just lasers everywhere. But it was a weird thing where I was like, this is kind of like, I hope there's nobody who's claustrophobic, which it did have a claustrophobia warning on it of like, hey, if you're claustrophobic, do not come in this haunted house because there's a section. And I was like, I wonder what section that is. And then we found it. I'm like, oh, it's this one, because there's no way. If you're claustrophobic, you will not get out of here. You're going to stay in this thing unless someone guides you, I guess.
Nope. I'll do everything else. I won't do that. Nope. It's not even claustrophobia. Well, maybe that is claustrophobia. I don't like the idea of being in a tight space like that. Okay, I suppose that could be claustrophobia.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I forgot to mention it last time we recorded, but I went to the fair as well, the state fair. It's a fun time.
Yes, how was that?
It was good. I mean, it was rainy. We went on the last weekend, so it rained like crazy. Also, hold on, I gotta grab it. Hold on one sec.
All right, Jerome's abandoned the podcast for
a second. Also,
now he's back.
He came back quick.
It was fast.
It was just on my.
Did you do one of those characters? Did you do one of those characters?
Yeah, we had caricature artists.
Oh my gosh!
I knew it.
Have y'all before you show it? Have y'all seen the ones on TikTok? They do it in like Hawaii. They're in like Hawaii. It's okay. I have to send it to you guys.
I haven't seen the Hawaii ones, but I've seen the ones where it's. And some of them are just like, this is bad. Like, this woman had like a smile and she had like a little gap right here. The man drew her big and like her date in the gap of her tooth.
I think it's the same. I think it's the same one. I think yeah, because they are ruthless.
They really are. Like, I'm like, I want to do one, and then I'm like, nope. They'll find your insecurity. They're like middle school kids. They'll find your insecurity.
This is Ari. Really? First, you get Ari's one. She looks super cute.
Wow, that is really good.
Yeah. And then there's me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he had a lot of fun.
You look kind of Jamaican, like with the hat and stuff.
You do.
I am glad that he didn't. That he did like my neck more so than like my nose and stuff, which I always joke with Ari too, where I'm like, I got a long neck. I got a giraffe neck. Going on. So
I don't have that problem. I don't have any neck.
But it was a fun time. We rode plenty of rides and stuff. I got to eat for the first time. There's a lot of deep fried things I haven't eaten despite my Southern heritage. One of which being deep fried Oreos. Never had that, and so we had some deep fried Oreos. It wasn't that great to me. I mean, it didn't taste bad. It didn't taste bad. It's just the fact of like, for me, it just tasted like an Oreo with breading around it. That's pretty much it. Like it.
Yeah, I can see that. If there's not like an added element to it,
well, they had like chocolate fudge on it, so it had that. So it had a little bit more chocolatey flavor. But past that, it just was like a thicker Oreo. Really is what it was.
You should do. Like. It's not a fair thing. It's a Mexican thing. We have deep fried ice cream. It's so good.
I was just about to say. Deep fried ice cream. That sounds like it's
the one that I've seen, and I know they do it everywhere, but it's in the South. Is deep fried butter, to which I'm like, my arteries hurt
Midwestern
just
thing.
Thinking about that. I do not want.
I've tried that. I've tried that once in my life. It takes 10 years off of your life. You can feel it taking 10 years off of your life. Because I had gotten one with a friend, and they were more insistent to finish it. I took a couple bites, and I'm like, I feel bad about myself after eating that. Like, you feel bad about yourself.
I can already see my vision going blurry because I love a good sweet. I love a good dessert. Lately, I've been trying to not eat too many sweets. But like this is like a couple months ago. Me and my manager went for ice cream, and it was a huge thing of ice cream. The rest of the day, my vision was like blurry, because of like the sugar rush. And then it happened again like last week when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna treat myself to some cookies. So I got some cookies. I ate like a good amount of them. Bam, my vision was blurry again. It's like
I
That's
try
the
not to
tell.
keep like candy or like that kind of sweets in the house because I know what I'll do. I'll just eat it all. But now that it is October, in my office, they keep bringing in candy. And so now there's candy everywhere, and everybody's like, "Do you want a piece of candy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I do." So by the end of the day, I'm like bouncing off the walls, being like, "All right, I think I need to go home. Think I'm gonna see. I'm shaking already." A lot of sugar throughout the day. Yeah, I try not to bring it home, but during October, it's like the worst. I swear. Everybody has
Mhm.
candy. Everybody has something. It's too much.
But yeah, so it was a fun time. It was a fun. I'm glad we got
Nice.
to do it. It was a special type thing too because like we almost missed it, but I ended up not working that day so we could go on that Saturday, and it's only special because that is the fair will forever be special for our relationship because that was our first date, was going to the state fair. So
Oh,
that's
Aww.
she really wanted to go because that relive some memories and stuff like that. So it was a good
there
time.
you
Oh,
go.
that's disgustingly sweet.
Well, I guess we'll get
Speaking of
into if
storybook
it's
moments,
yeah. I
let's
mean,
let.
we had a nice, that was a good like little catch up because it's been a couple weeks
Mhm.
since we've reunited. But speaking, what did you say? Speaking of what?
Storybook moments.
Speaking of storybook moments, there we go. The topic of today's episode is books that should be movies. So we're going to be talking all our favorite books that have not yet been turned into a piece of media. Or maybe they have been turned into a piece of
Just not
media and
good.
yeah, that. Or
That was so aggressive. They're
I
not
have
good.
one in
you,
particular
you
where
have,
I'm like,
I
y'all
was about to
fucked
say,
this
you have
up.
one in mind. You
He's
have
ready.
one.
He's got it. He's got it.
Or maybe something's been turned into a TV show that you thought would have been better suited as a movie, or it was better suited, or it was a movie better suited as a TV show, stuff like that. So who wants to go first? Jerome, it sounded like you had something on your mind.
Yeah, you
So
had something personal
go.
going on there.
So I
Yes.
have a story. One of my favorite books I read when I was a kid, mainly because I watched the movie first and then found the book and was like, oh man, I want to read the book. Is Jumper. I don't know if either of you know that story or the movie in
Sounds
I
particular.
familiar.
know the movie.
The movie stars Hayden Christensen, Samuel L. Jackson. It is a movie in which Hayden Christensen plays I forget his first name, damn it, but something Rice, who's he's the superpower to teleport. And then you find out that Sam Jackson's character is like working for an organization that hunts down people who can teleport, and they're called Jumpers. And it's like an action adventure movie. David Rice, that was the main character's name. In the book, it is nothing like that. In fact, there's no organization that hunts down people who could teleport, because in the book, there's implications that David's the only one who could teleport. But it's a slice of life type book. It's almost like a teen drama, if anything. In which David, who lives in a bit of an abusive household with his alcoholic father, once he finds out he can teleport, the things they kept in the movie, of course, is that, as a kid, first thing he thinks to do is to rob a bank, become rich,
Which
yada yada.
honestly, same.
Right, but he makes the mistakes that that a kid would also make too. Like, there's a point where he almost gets sexually assaulted by a trucker, like, because he's running away. He doesn't know anything about the world. He just trusts this guy. There's another point where he meets a girl, and they like that is like a childhood friend of his, and at first he's like excited and they're about to have sex together, but then he's a kid. He hasn't had sex before, and he gets nervous and he runs. Like, it's all these great moments that really play into this idea of what happens if a teenager had the ability to be had a superpower. And then later it kind of gets crazy, because then like that actually, like, the first half of the book is just a slice of life kind of story. The second half is when he finally decides, because there's a whole thing with his mom who left when he was younger, where he decide, like, his mom gets killed. I won't spoil how. And then David decides, all right, time to start implementing some justice and become a superhero. And there's a second book too that is like a continuation, and then the third book is about a completely different person. This guy named Griffin, who was also in the movie, but a slightly different character, who's also a jumper as well. So, like, I feel like you could make Jumper into, first of all, redo the movie if you want and make it like an actual good movie, or make it a TV show. The teen dramas are in right now and people love them. So I think
Although you could
have,
end up with something like Riverdale, so.
Yeah, well, as long as you don't let the CW make it, it'll be fine.
Let the CW touch things.
But it's like I think that story, that book has potential. I think it still has potential. I think they didn't need to turn it into like a sci-fi action movie to make it sellable. I think it can be sellable as is. So that's my pitch for a book that should be redeemed rather as a movie or TV
Yeah, because
show.
I recall in the movie they just skipped over his whole teenhood and he was straight into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a good movie.
It's not
remember
a good
bits and
movie,
pieces.
no.
It's not a
And
great
cool
movie.
effects. I love the effects in the movie. I think Sam Jackson and Hayden Christensen actually are good together, which is actually funny because it's a Star Wars reunion too. Because both of them were in Star Wars together. So I'm sure they were just like, hey, Hayden, what's going on?
I wouldn't know. On that vein, I mean, the book John Dies at the End got a movie. It was decent enough, but it tried to squish like 2 to 3 of the books because it's a series. So it tried to squish like 2 to 3 of the books into one movie. Uh, it ended not great and really off of what they were trying to actually write in the books, which the books I love because they're hyper meta. They're really, really meta. And they're more fuck ups than the movie led you to believe. Like even in the fourth book, they're still kind of like, yeah, we don't know what we're doing still. We're kind of flinging this, and there's a lot of twists and turns. I feel like John Dies at the End, and the series of those books would be so much better if they could redo it and actually follow the book a little more closely, or make it even into a show. Because one of those shows that are just, it could just be honestly an Amazon Prime show. Because their shows are weird now. I don't know what
The
they're
Amazon
doing.
Prime,
I don't know
yeah,
what's going on, but they.
I feel like anytime I hear about an Amazon Prime show, it's either like a no, actually, yeah, Amazon Prime shows are random. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what you're getting with Netflix shows. I feel like you usually know what you're getting with Netflix shows. Amazon Prime, those are like a very hit and miss.
You know what it is? It's because Amazon Prime, I think, is the ones who get the leftovers, but they get the most creative leftovers. Like Netflix stays pretty safe; they're in pocket. Hulu's the same thing, but that's because Hulu has FX on their back, so Hulu can get some like really good prime time shows. Like they get
and
some
Hulu
really
actually
does
serious drama. It's just drama.
Yeah, Hulu does a lot of, especially for their TV shows, they do a lot of book adaptations.
Yeah,
well.
Hulu gets like some really serious dramas, but Amazon Prime, they get what's left, and what's left is like the stuff that I guess A24 doesn't want, because that's what it seems like. They get the weirdest shows, the weirdest stuff, but it's always stuff that I'm like, but this is creative. This is something I would never see anywhere else. So I applaud them for actually getting like those shows. And then the ones they do have that are popular, it's always just that they're extremely violent, super sexual, and unapologetic about being both.
I mean, what is it? Yellow Jackets isn't sexual or violent, although they do eat people on that show.
Well, technically that show is
a person. They
that
eat
show
one
is for
person.
Showtime, though. Technically, it's just like Amazon
That's
Prime
true.
adjacent, but that's a Showtime show.
Well, either way, I feel like Amazon Prime could handle that, or whoever's doing what over there could definitely handle a book series like How John Dies at the End. It's just a weird meta book that's even hard to explain sometimes, which is why I'm like Amazon Prime. Uh, but I think they need to redo that and give it because the fourth series came out and it says you're if you're seeing this book, you're in the wrong universe. Which is just the titles are just meant to fuck with you too. Like this book is full of spiders, and I forget the
Oh,
third one now. But they're all kind of like that, where it's just basically messing with your perception of reality, and who doesn't enjoy that in a show?
right. For one of my suggestions, this was, I think it was at the beginning of 2021. I think I read it. It was either 2020 or 2021. I want to say it was 2021. Um, sorry, I just gave Gibson a look because he's playing with the toy and made a noise. But it's called This Close to Okay. It's a book by Lisa Cross Smith, and it is heart wrenching. You might cry, you might laugh a little bit. Basically, the premise is there's this woman, she's in her 40s, she's a Black woman, she's a therapist. As she's driving home one night, she sees, and trigger warning, suicide. Yeah, trigger warning. There is this guy who's literally about to jump off the bridge. She sees this on her commute home. And so she, stops him. She's like, hey, come on, let's just, she takes him to her house and they like basically spend the weekend together. And it's basically just like their story of spending the weekend together. There's a lot of secrets that come out both about her and about him. And it's really good. I really enjoyed it, and I think it should become a movie.
You know what's funny? Well, not funny, but funny, is that the book I wanted to suggest next also has a trigger warning of suicide to it. And it's actually a book you
Bro.
recommended to me, Jonathan. And I have it right here. The Midnight Library.
Oh yes.
I got this in LA when we were visiting you because you had recommended to me and you made it sound so good, and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a character, who commits suicide and they get sent to this library and they get to relive moments of their lives, which I think that is such a cool idea to see your whole life through in this like giant library. And it's like, what moments would you revisit? Would you revisit the good times? Would you revisit the bad times? If you had the control to change something, but not like affect it because your life is lived. But if you had a chance to rewrite just a single moment to make yourself feel better, it makes you think about all those times you've like rethought about an argument in your head, and you're like, oh, I should have said that. Would you choose like those moments to go back to and be like, I'm gonna go say this to her now? Or would you like be like, oh, I'm gonna go spend the last moments with like somebody I love? Being a petty
Right.
person, I personally don't know.
It's like
I'm like,
it's like if anybody's ever seen The Circle, when a player gets voted off, because you know how they don't see each other in those pods, in those
mhm.
apartments. When a player gets voted off, they get to choose one person to visit and like in person. And sometimes the person can either be like your enemy, like confront the person, why did you send me home? Or it could be someone who you were like really close friends with. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna miss you. I hope you win. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that dichotomy. It's like, how would you? What moment would you choose?
I would neither go to neither of them. I would go to just a random one to make my enemy question, was it really my enemy? And my friend's question, were they really my friend? Were they working with this person the entire time? Why is this person the one they visited? See, that's why I can't have a whole library of my past self. I might just do something stupid like that. But I think that would be a really good movie to watch because it just brings up the questions of what would you revisit if you passed away, especially somebody who has committed suicide to somebody who has died of an accident, an illness, or something like that. Because when you tend to pass of like a chronic illness, you get a little more sentimental. An accident, I don't really know what like a thought process could be in that way. But like, yeah, trying to relive happy moments to doing petty stuff to being like, oh, I want to know the truth about these events or if I remember them exactly how they were. I think it's such a cool thing to dive into. And that's why I was like, it's funny, not funny, but with the same trigger warning, like right off the bat.
Right. But both good books and good choices.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting also
I-
with this close to okay to see a stranger invite the person into their home. Is it like that they were I almost feel like it's a kidnap situation, but I'm assuming the person went willingly.
Yes, he did go willingly. As far as I remember, it's been a while since I read the book, but as far as I remember, he did go willingly. Yeah. And you as the reader don't know some of their secrets and stuff, so it's like uncovering you know, they're uncovering secrets about each other and you're reading them as they're uncovering the secrets. So it's a good book. And for the Midnight Library, that book was everywhere. I think it's pretty popular. So I can see it like actually turning into a movie within the next few years.
I could see that, yeah.
And it's a British book as well.
Yes, the Sunday Times London called it an adept at digging into the human heart. I think this is a good book to try and read.
Oh, easy.
You good there, Jerome?
I'm good. I just
this book talk is making you tired.
No, it's been a long week.
Book talk.
This book talk, yeah. One I was gonna say that it's not necessarily one that like should be a movie because it already is turning into a movie. But it's Leave the World Behind, and I talked about it multiple times on this podcast, and I won't stop talking about it until the movie comes out. Hopefully, the movie is not trash because then I would be embarrassed. But they just released the trailer.
Malcolm and Marie.
Netflix just released the trailer, and I'm excited. So that's all I'm going to say about that because we don't want to be talking about struck stuff. So, yeah.
I have a pitch. It is the one that you may have to change the title, but I think it could be fun and very topical. There's a comic book created by Kelly Sue DeConnick, and I forget who the other woman helped her make it is, and Valentine Delandro, called Bitch Planet. The whole story is that
interesting name.
Yeah, I see it in the comic book stores all the time, and I'm like, is today the day I pick up Bitch Planet? So it's sitting on my bookshelf. But it's a story. It's a feminist comic book, and I say it that way because the whole idea around the comic, when they put it together, was to have a bunch of women write and draw the stories. But it's about various women who commit crimes and are sent to a prison that is off planet, and the stories that come with that and stuff. And it's kind of an anthology story or anthology series. Different women write different stories and stuff like that. So it's a celebration of just different writers writing their own stories and stuff like that. And it's really cool. The art's really good. Granted, the art style changes all the time because it's different ladies drawing different stuff. And there's been multiple books, though. It has been popular. I don't know if it's like as popular as something like, let's say, like Saga or something like that, but it is, I think, a staple in the comics world now. They're not doing any more Bitch Planet stuff, but it's really cool. And I think it would make for a great TV series, or if you did do a movie, like a great series of like, everyone wants to make a universe, right? Make a Bitch Planet universe of movies. That's just like a mixture of stories, almost like Sin City style, where when they did the Sin City movie, they took the multiple stories of the books, because there's tons of Sin City books, and bunch like 3 of them up into the movie. So like 3 of the most popular ones into the movie. So I think you could do the same thing with Bitch Planet, where you maybe take a few of those stories, scrunch them up, and put them into a movie of some kind.
I feel like when you do that with movies, it loses some of the flavor, though. Because then you like try to scrunch them up into and sometimes it can work, and sometimes it just feels like, well, I understand why you put this in here, but then you left out this, which means they kind of made it less significant. You know what I mean? Where it was like, I wish you just had added the whole story. I wish you had just done the whole story instead. So
Mm.
is what I feel
Yeah.
when I watch those
That's
movies.
and that's kind of where like the conversation between should this be a movie or should this be a TV show comes in, because if something has more, I say if something has more than like three major beats, if you like read a story or watch a movie or whatever and you have three main beats, then I think it should be a movie. But if it's a little more nuanced, maybe you have certain stages of life that the character is in, or like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, where you have seven husbands. You could easily turn that into like a TV series, which apparently I think that's turning into a movie. But you could turn that into a TV series because you have the structure to stretch it out.
Well, it depends on how you do it. Because I look at like Scott Pilgrim, where that book is 7 parts, or the series is seven books, but it's a very clear through line. So there's a lot of easy stuff you can like pick and choose what needs to stay, what you can cut out, what sticks around, the things that like are the staples. So I think but at the same time, it only has 7 parts versus like they tried to do a show of Why the Last Man, which is one of my favorite comics of all time. But even when I've thought about like what that show would look like, would be like that show is gonna be very dense because there's a lot of plot points to start. Like while the story is simple, it's just trying to get one man from one point across country. But a lot happens in between that in the series, and there's like tons of comics for that story. At least like a whole compendium's worth of stories. And so I just feel like something like that where it's like that can't, like, you can't possibly try and turn that into a movie, which they didn't. But they turned it into a show that didn't do so well, but got canceled. But I just think like something like that has to be a show. And so if your story is like that, and not necessarily even just with comics, but also with like books or whatever too, if your book is that dense, your novel or whatever, you cannot like make that work as a movie, or else it's going to either feel bloated or you're going to be missing things that made the book so great.
I think that's like what they do with like Stephen King's books. A lot of the books he has, like with it, had to be a two-parter because you could
Mm.
try to squeeze that in because technically it could all be in one story, but you kind of needed that split in between. Although they're making a third, I've heard, and I don't know why they need to do. I don't know what it is about. I
It
just heard that they're doing it, and I think it's stupid. And hopefully, it's one of the projects that gets struck down because of the writer strike and actor strike. You can only hope.
I would also like to see a movie of. It's a book that came out not too long ago, and I haven't read it yet, but I want to. But I love the premise is interesting to me, and I feel like it could be very topical. Is a book called Yellowface, and it's about this woman who's friends with an Asian writer, and they're both writers, and it's a white woman, and she's not good at doing her she's not a great writer, but her Asian writer friend is. Like, she's popular, she's got a lot of accolades under her belt, and she dies, and she leaves behind with her a manuscript, which was her last book, and she asks for her friend to publish it for her. Instead,
but she publishes it as her own.
Well, no, she publishes it under a pseudonym that is an Asian name because it's a very Asian-centric story. And then the publishers, and it's a book about the exploitation of colorism in media, because like their publishers are like, okay, well, we'll give you like a vaguely Asian name, so technically you're not lying. Like it's like, you know, the writers use fake like pseudonyms all the time, so we'll give you one that's vaguely Asian, so that way people don't question it and stuff like that. And it gets into like that sort of thing, and it's written by an Asian writer, the actual book. So it's like, I think it would be an interesting book to see turned into a dramatic movie. I don't know if it would become like major. It'd probably go to like a streaming service or something. But it's something that could be interesting for sure.
Another book I want to, which has become very popular in the last like year or so, Mexican Gothic.
Mexican Gothic.
So, I was gonna say the
Which
author, the Sylvia Moreno-Garcia. Which did we read together? No, that was another
no,
one.
but we've talked about. No, we read the Hacienda.
Yes,
but it was similar to. It was kind of similar to Mexican Gothic.
It was, but still, both really good. I think one, it'd be nice to see a Mexican story actually out there, but two, there's just so much behind it, and it shows a lot of stories that involve Latin or Mexican people tend to be a bit like lower class or something. This was more higher class, you know? She's going to parties and cocktail parties and beautiful dresses and everything. It shows a different version of Latin people, and it would be nice to see that instead of, you know, here's always the underdog story. Getting real tired of that shit. Not that it's not inspiring and it's great to see, and of course, I love anytime there's Latin representation, but it would be nice to see more and, you know, different and being in a higher class than what they're always trying to portray us in media. So Mexican Gothic is definitely something, and she's an amazing writer. I just got another book of hers, Gods of Jade and Stone, and I haven't read it yet. I bought it a while back off an app. Let me actually call the app. Since we're talking about all these books, this is not a
Sponsors.
This is not a sponsor, but I love this app. Pango Books. They sell, you know, you can do secondhand books. People sell them personally off their shelves. You can sell books. And the person I bought that book for left me a cute little note that was like, you know, happy that this book has found a new home. So that made me fall in love with the app a little more. So not a sponsor, but I think if we're talking about books, definitely a great place to go to buy some.
Okay, send me that because of course I've kind of stopped within recent months because I realized that I took a kind of book hiatus and I did not want to keep purchasing books. But send me that because I'd be interested to see what's on there and if I want to get rid of some of my own as well.
Yeah, I've sold a couple books through there. It's been really nice. I know, again, not an ad. Just a discussion, not being sponsored, but I've even sold a couple books on there. I know how I'm sounding, and bought a couple books, and they've been in great condition. And just the last one just had that really sweet note, so I'm just like, I'm gonna give them a little plug because I've been really happy with them. But non-sponsorship over.
With Mexican Gothic, I remember seeing that Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos were developing a TV show for like Hulu or something, but that was in like
Kelly Ripa.
Yeah, I know. I
remember that one.
But I don't know where that landed because that was in like 2020. Let's see, Mexican Gothic TV. One of one of the suggestions that comes up is Mexican Gothic trigger warnings.
What trigger warnings do they have? Well, never mind. I know.
Yeah. There's no like.
It's like violence and. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's no information on the development of the show. Back in 2020, Hulu announced that they purchased the rights to make Mexican Gothic into a show. There's been no development since then, so I'm not sure where they're at with that TV series.
Makes sense.
I think it would do better as a movie than a TV show, although
I
if they
agree.
do it if they do it as a TV show, I feel like it's gonna
Yep,
be
you
very
guys go on.
dry.
I'm gonna take a call real quick. Gonna take a call real quick. Sorry, I muted before I finished my statement.
You're
Okay.
fine. I think risky, which some shows when it should be like a movie, the shows end up being like really dry, and so because they just keep
Because they're
going and
trying to
keep going.
stretch out stuff. Yeah.
And this book isn't that thick.
Mm-mm.
Like recently, I don't want to say the name, but you all could probably guess it. There was a movie based off a singular chapter from Dracula when he was on the boat. And I was looking at the book because I have it. It's half this size, and it's legitimately a chapter from a book that's already about this size. Have you seen those people on TikTok while Jerome's gone that show how they like crack the spines of the books while we're here?
No,
So
but I think I've heard about it.
they'll just like go like this really hard,
That's
and I'm just
unhinged.
that is horrible. Like, there's no reason to damage your book's spine like that, Jerome.
Yeah,
Because you don't read too many of these type of books, but you read a lot of comic books. Do you break the spine of your comic books?
like bend it back to like snap the spine or whatever.
Or can you do you break comic book spines? Well, I
Yeah,
guess
oh
if
yeah.
they're like big enough. Do you do that? Do you break them, or do you like? Are
No,
you
I just
careful
read
with the
them as
spine?
is, and then if they like break on their own, that's like what it's like whatever. But I don't intentionally like bend back the bindings of the books.
I was
I like
mentioning
to keep
there's
my
a lot
books
of.
looking as
Oh,
like nice as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned how I saw some people on TikTok, book TikTok, that just will grab their books and just like split them open, and they'll have this like big line. I was like, why would you do that to your book? That's damage. You're damaging the book. It hurts me. I'm
Do
like cuddling a book now. It's like it's okay. I won't break your spine.
do y'all like hardcovers or uh soft covers
See, I like the hardcovers, but
or paperback, I should say.
yeah, paperback. It makes it harder to like keep pristine. You know what I mean? Especially if you got like the paperback like cover, because you want to like keep it like
Yeah.
pristine and fresh, but then like if it gets ripped, it's like, oh no, my book is ruined because this came with the book. It only can it
Oh, you're
only
talking about the
can
dust jacket?
yeah, well, like because like
I like taking off the dust jacket if I'm
Same.
carrying this book somewhere, because like this is definitely gonna
Because
get
it'll
ruined.
get ruined.
But
yeah,
I like
like I
having.
because I love the Human Target like dust jacket I have, and then like the book itself is like really cool. Like it's also pretty cool too. It's the Justice League International classic
Oh,
cover.
that was cool.
But still, it's like, but I want to show off though. I want to show off the Human Target like dust jacket at the same time, like when I'm out and about. But I don't carry it with me because I'm like, I want to keep this as pristine as possible at all times.
Right.
See, with me is I know being in my backpack, the dust cover will get messed up because it will slide, and the shit I have in there will ruin it. So I take it off, but then I do end up getting the cover of the book dirty, which is kind of the
Yeah,
point
same. My
of the
like
dust cover.
right. My like fingerprints and stuff, you'll see the fingerprints on the book when I take off the dust jacket. You'll see because like I'd say 93 to 95% of the books I have are hardcovers. That's partially thanks to Book of the Month, which they only have hardcovers and they sell the books cheap.
That's true.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I like the hardcover. Like the paperback is nice for like when you're reading on the bus, I guess, because you could fold it over if you really want
Or like
to.
on a plane or something.
Yeah, but like the hardcover though is just it looks nicer. It's pristine. You know the book will last longer. You know,
And
like,
I
as far
like
as, like
being
the cover.
I like
Yeah.
being able to once you get to like the middle of the book, I like being able to like it can open freely without you having to touch it and you could just like read it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because you mentioned that how your fingerprints get on them. I when sometimes when I'm flipping through the books, like if you're not paying attention, you'll get like water or just the natural oils. you'll start rubbing the ink on here and then get it on like the front pages. And I've had it where I don't know how, but I've gotten it on a white dust cover, on a white dust jacket. And I was like, what is that? What is that? And then I found out I had gotten a page or two wet from probably the water I was drinking. And I was so upset because I'm like, I ruined the book inside and out. Ink is everywhere.
Thinking of books though, and also you mentioned being meta earlier. A series that I would love to see. Granted, I don't think it's over yet, but I think the writers taking a break from the industry for a minute. But there's a writer, Donny Cates, who's a great writer. He's written some pretty cool stuff, mostly for Marvel, because he's contracted through Marvel, so he writes a lot of stuff for them. But he's also written some really great stories independently. One of which being God Country, which is really cool. It's this story about and these are comic books. It's this story about this dude who is well, it's mainly about this old man who's suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. And his son is trying to take care of him along with his wife and I think like 6-year-old or 7-year-old daughter. And they're trying to take care of him, and they live in Texas. And a magic sword falls from the sky, and the grandfather finds it. And when he finds it, it turns out it's a sword called Valifax, who's the god, who is the sword of master of blades. But also, it gives him back his memories. It gives him back like all of his sensibilities and everything. And he's like an old school guy. He used to be like a fighter and like as far as like not in the sense of a professional fighter, but he used to get into a lot of fights and stuff. And turns out the sword is from this ancient like group of gods. And so they come down, they're like, hey, we want the sword back. Can you please give us back the sword? And he's like, no. Firstly, I'm not suffering from Alzheimer's anymore. But secondly, like I'm a warrior. I don't just give up just because someone tells me to. And so he fights the gods with this sword, and the sword talks to him and stuff because the sword is also technically a person. And it's a really good book. It's really heartfelt too, with the Alzheimer's stuff and the family aspects and stuff like that. And that book's good. But the book that I would really love to see into a movie or TV show is what came after that, which was Crossover. Wow. And Crossover is about how some weird event happens where all of the characters from every comic book and every story appears in our world, the real world, and causes an explosion in a city and of just like superheroes. And of course, them being superheroes, supervillains, they just start fighting and causing chaos and madness. And so the world builds a dome around them to keep them from causing more destruction. And it's called the Crossover event, which is where the title comes from. And the main character is this character named Ellipsis, in reference to the actual like literary usage. And her parent, like when the dome came down, she got out, but her parents didn't, and so her parents are still trapped in there. So she's hoping in the where the portal is and all these superheroes, supervillains, and throughout the book, the guy who is the head of her comic book store that she works at, and they find a girl who is one of the, I forget what they're called, but basically the comic book people in the comic to help differentiate who's who. Regular people are drawn regularly. People who come from the comic book world are drawn with like, the old school like dots that are on old comic books. They're drawn in that style with the old school dots over them so that they're a comic book character, and they're like their coloring is more faded and stuff like old comic books used to be. And they find a little girl who belongs to the comic book world. And so they're like, this is our ticket to get into the dome, A, to help this little girl out, but also B, I can find my parents. And so they go on an adventure to go to the dome. Meanwhile, there's another kid who is the son of a bigoted preacher who thinks these comic book people just deserve to be killed regardless of where they come from, if they're good, bad, whatever, because they've destroyed the world, and he's using the faith to promote this. And so he goes and so he charges his son with like killing one to prove himself. and his son runs into them, and so there's this conflict there of like, will he do it, will he not, like is he gonna like defy his upbringing essentially and stuff like that. And there's a lot of meta stuff where there's a lot of characters from other comic books, and I remember reading that book because it's published by Image, but there's characters from other books that are not published by Image in the book. And I'm just like, this could be a really cool TV show to have, where you have like maybe like Chris Evans Captain America show up, and you have Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, and you have Ben Affleck Batman, like all these different people, and even people obscure stuff like Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim shows up, or like somebody else from another comic book movie that maybe isn't like popular, but it's like, hey, you're that actor who played this character. I think it could be a really cool show to kind of have these like crossover ideas from different comic book movies that have existed in the zeitgeist in one place.
Like watch, because I do like the Gumball universe where I see the different designs all together. I like that a lot. It keeps me really focused and interested. So I think that would be interesting to see with the real world and the comic book world going by the guy. Because comic books are also drawn so differently, even with the dotting system. Their designs can differ so much between creator, designer, and all that.
Yeah, there's a whole issue in which they run into the cops from a comic book called Powers, in which Powers is about these two cops who live in a world where superheroes exist, and they're two regular people who are investigating like super crime, essentially. But the whole book is drawn, like that section of the book is drawn by the artist from Powers. And they're talking, and then the two characters are talking to Brian Michael Bendis and I forget the artist's name, but the people who made Powers, the comic book. And so it's so funny where he's like, I made you, and now you're talking to me. in real life. Like there's a whole thing where Brian K. Vaughan, who's a very popular comic book artist who made stuff like Saga, Why the Last Man, Marvel's Runaways, he dies. Like off screen, they talk about how Brian K. Vaughan was the first one to get killed, and now he's dead. Which I'm sure makes him laugh, because I think him and Donny Cates know each other. So he's just like, you killed me in your comic. What the fuck? Why would you do that?
I love it when friends kill each other in each other's work.
In fact, that is a plot point where one of the characters finds one of their writers, and they're like, I'm going to kill you because you killed me. Okay, you made my life a living hell in my book, and now I have the chance to kill you, you son of a bitch.
Actually, I think that was a Supernatural episode where because the show got weird after like season, I want to say like, it got weird. But they meet Chuck, who eventually you find out is God. But before that, he's just writing basically like the Book of Job. He's writing the Book of the Winchesters, but he writes them all out into these series. And one of them is like, you wrote our lives? You put us through all that? And they're like, there's so much personal detail in this stuff. Like, you tell everything. You don't keep anything a secret. This is all so personal.
Yeah.
For like comic book writers too.
Yeah, they did. Actually, I remember now. It's Negan. Negan finds Robert Kirkman and kills him.
Wow.
That would be like, a Negan thing.
Yeah, especially because Negan's like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Because for those who don't know, Negan, apparently, when Robert Kirkman made Negan is like, Robert is supposed to be close to who Robert Kirkman, not like who he is as a person, but like a persona version of him. A persona version of himself, like especially with the way Negan talks in the book where he curses a lot. Apparently that is how Robert Kirkman talks, or used to talk rather, and it's supposed to be kind of like Negan is kind of like a like cracked mirror version of Robert Kirkman is the rumor. I don't know if that's true or not.
Without the head smashing in part.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Robert Kirkman's not a psycho that's out here killing people with a bat, but he's like, yeah, you know, sometimes I can be a little vulgar or whatever, and so I wanted to make a character that is like all of that. You know, all that part of myself into a character. And so Negan talks about that, where he's like, I don't even know who I am. Am I you? Am I not you? Like, am I supposed to be this way, or am I just this way because you wrote me this way? And it pisses me off. And so I'm just like, it's stuff like that where I'm like, that's kind of cool. Also, I feel like Donnie Cates is like, I wonder if he had a lot of fun and he like messaged them. He's like, hey, guess what? You're in my book now. It's like, and I'm sure that is a weird mess where you're like, in what regard? I read the first issue. I heard what you did to Brian. Am I okay? Am I good? Like, what's happening?
I think if one of our friends is that dog in her book, just kill me like in a nice way, if you could. Like, I'm fine if you murder me. Just like do it a little more spectacular than the other deaths. You gotta
Give
if
me
you
a
gotta kill me off.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
A moment to
don't
be
have me go out
attached.
like a punk. Let me be heroic or something.
Yeah, like give me
Right.
a scene, give me some lines. Let me have a good one-liner before I go.
Let the reader cry as my death happens on the page.
I want to be quoted when after I die. I want to be quoted.
Right.
Another comic series also I want to see though too, and this one is actually would be like a limited series or something. 8 Billion Genies. I don't know if either of you have heard of that one. It's a story in which apparently when the world gets too populated, specifically when it hits the number 8 billion people on the planet, genies, magical genies, appear to every single person, one person at a time. And you get one unaltered wish completely. And the genies are all these cute little beings that float around and stuff. But the story centers around this small group of people that are at this bar in particular, and their reaction to everything. Like there's a guy there who is a grieving father. He's a widower, and he's there with his son because there's also a concert going on. The concert, we get to focus on the band and their adventures. The bartender, an Asian family who one of them is or Asian couple, and the wife is pregnant and stuff. So it's like a small group of people, and you're dealing with their different adventures. But of course, the fun of 8 Billion Genies is also that it's the world. And like the first issue is really cool because like the bartender, his wish for every wish to not affect the bar, like that happens outside of the bar, to not affect the bar at all. Like it's null the second people walk in. And the reason why is because they're like, why would that be your first and only, you only get one wish? Why would you wish that? He's like, cause the world's insane. And the whole book takes each issue is like in increments of 8. So the first book is the first 8 minutes. Second one's the first 8 hours. Third one's the first 8 days, like, and so on and so forth. And in the first 8 minutes, like the population goes from like 8 billion to 6 billion because they wish, like, because it's like people making dumb wishes. Like, I wish I had a dinosaur. I wish I was a superhero. I wish I had an explosion. And every issue starts with you seeing the world. And so the planet goes from being like the regular Earth we know to like a planet with arms and legs and a mouth. And there's like tons of spaceships outside because, you know, their wish was like, I want a spaceship. And they flew out into the atmosphere and all this stuff. And so it's a really cool, I think it could be a really cool TV show or movie in which you get to, like, every episode maybe is like a different person's wish. And like, if it works out or if it doesn't.
There was an episode of Fairly Odd Parents that it reminds me of that with Norm Macdonald. May he rest in peace. Where he was a genie and he lays out, he's like, yeah, people make the same 3 wishes. The first one is usually something stupid, like a sandwich. You know, they just want to make sure the powers are right. Second one is usually something ridiculous. And I think he was talking to the mayor of the town, and the mayor's like, I want to be mayor of the world. He's like, well, the third one's usually unwishing everything. So the third one, he's like, all right, I have about 12 minutes before everything really goes wrong. I'm going to read a book.
It's always like,
Siri's listening to me.
So it's always like, yeah, in the end, the wishes didn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good series. There's only 8 issues, of course, because it's 8 billion genies. But and the fun thing too is the drama within the bar is really interesting. Like one in the band, for example, there's 3 members, it's 2 guys and 1 girl, and this one, the guitarist loves the singer who's the girl, and he's like, "Hey, I would, he's on the day this happens, he's thinking of asking her out, and then she and she's like, no, I'm not interested or whatever, and the reason she's not interested is because she's into the other guy, the drummer." And so when the genies, but I think she asked him out, and I think he says no or something like that, or something, or maybe they don't talk at all. But what happens is then the genies appear. Her first and immediate wish is that he'll love her. Anyway,
isn't that against the genie rules? You can't make someone fall in
no.
love
This
is
is
that
an
like there's no
unaltered.
rules?
There are no rules. It's just whatever you wish is what you will grant. Now, if that doesn't work out, that's on you. And the
So you
genies
can
are
wish
like these
people back from like the dead.
Mhm.
That's not cool.
But
If anybody ever wishes me back from the dead, I'm taking them out with me as I go down again.
well, there are rules in that, like, the wish can't be like a counter to another wish. So if someone wishes
You
like someone
can't
to be back from
unwish
the
somebody's
dead,
wish.
you can't unwish somebody to be like that they be dead. Like that's because it's like the
Wait, so
magic
like
doesn't counteract.
if somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I wish for a dinosaur," you can't be like, "I wish the dinosaur away," because it's like attacking everything.
Yes. Now you can wish to have something to kill the dinosaur. Like I want a sword that instantly kills dinosaurs. Okay, done. And then you just stick it, and then it just like dies or something. So it's like,
Then you just have a sword.
but it depends on the rules because there's like, for example, that guy he wishes for the bar to not be affected by outside or anything in the bar to not be affected by wishes. Right. When she makes that wish for him to fall in love with her, he's in the bar currently. So she goes in there and she's like, "Now you love me." He's like, "No, I don't. What are you talking about?" And she's like, and the other guitarist who liked her is like, "Yeah, she wished for you to fall in love with her using a genie." But it didn't work because you're inside the bar. So now she just wasted her wish because she only gets the one. After you wish it, it's gone.
But what if they step out of the bar? It doesn't like activate?
No. That was like
So it's just like
so she wasted
doesn't
her
and
wish.
nothing happens in there.
Yeah, but what does happen is now she has to live with the guilt of being basically trying to magically roofie this dude into loving her. And so that becomes a dramatic thing where he's like, "You tried to like magically make me your boyfriend." It's kind of messed up. And so it's like stuff like that where like I'm like, this could make for a really good TV show if done right. Also, the genies are adorable. Look at them. They're super cute. And they're really sweet. That's what all the genies look like, because this little blue guy. And they all
I'm
look
not
like
sure I like that. They kind of creep me out.
well, they all take on the visage of the person who their wishes. So like that's the guy, that's the guitarist guy, and then that's his genie who has like the same type of band T-shirt. And it's adorable. They're super cute. I think they're super cute. So So yeah. 8 billion genies. Make the show.
I'll throw in my I'll throw in my
Is Gibson okay?
kind of,
Gibson's
he's
just
trying to
ready.
get me to play. He hasn't done this in a
Hmm.
while, but when I'm on the podcast, but now he's apparently very active. But kind of my final two, but they're both kind of in the same category, in the romance category. One is called The Dating Plan, and it's been a while since I've read it, but it was essentially girl. She works at like she does some sort of like tech or engineering. She sees this guy from high school. They're about like 10 years out of high school, and he left her at prom. He like stood her up. Apparently it's been haunting her this whole time, and it's been eating away at her. And so when she sees him again, she just like completely is like why did you do this to me? And blah, blah, blah. Long story short, they end up fake dating. Her family, she comes from like an Indian background. And her aunties want her to really get married and stuff. So they like fake that they're going to get married. I don't really remember what happens in the middle of the plot, but it's one of those fake dating stories. So how can you go wrong? And yeah, and then you see their relationship kind of form and develop and go through ups and downs. And then the other one is a little bit saucier. It's called Vladimir. It was one of the Book of the Month recommendations. And we talked about this movie, didn't we?
We did that. You never showed me your crocheted or knit tie. You said you had a tie that was knitted?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do.
I have to see that after those words. Don't tell me you have more than one. I don't believe anybody has more than one. I don't even believe you have one.
I have one, and then my Stranger Things costume, it had a knitted tie that was almost exactly like the one I have, but just different colors.
Why knit a tie? Like, I can understand. Go. I will be stuck on this. Go continue on with your recommendation. I'm sorry.
Anyway, yeah, Vladimir. It's not because it was like the most like riveting book or it was like my favorite book. I think it could just be interesting in one of those like steamy either TV shows or books. It's basically about this teacher. I think she's in her like 50s, right?
Yeah.
Or not teacher. She's a professor at a college. She basically like has an affair with her student, and he's like in his 30s, I want to say.
He's like a TA, actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
So he's age appropriate.
Yes, he's age appropriate. It's not.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Let's put it out. He is age appropriate.
Right. But they have an affair. And I remember the book was written really interestingly.
I think it was interesting. The only thing that upset me was the ending. And not because of how it ended, but so she was, well, spoilers, I suppose, but, you know, it needs to be talked about. How she was writing a book at the time, and there was a fire, and she lost the only manuscript of it. But it's also like, this was written around 2022, 2023. There's Google Docs. There are, you know, external storages. There's keys. There is iCloud. There's Microsoft iCloud. There's Apple iCloud. You could just keep it as a document in your phone for editing later. There are so many other locations to keep this protected. And you had like one version of it on a laptop somewhere. I don't believe it.
That's the thing. It's like there's certain stories where it's like people have to remember. It's like you gotta take into account modern technology, or else the story falls apart. Like it's why like certain horror movies, like especially if they take place in modern day, they forget. Don't you have a cell phone? Can't you just call for help right now? Like why are you like no, I can't call right now. I'm too scared. You can just dial 911 without the sound on. And like, you can
text 911. You can actually text 911. I don't think a lot of people know that. You can text 911 now. But also, it was that whole, like, if you're using, I know for a fact, if you're using anything but an Apple computer, such as like a Dell or, you know, even this computer I have, which is an Acer, you have Microsoft OneDrive most likely. Because that is commonly used on anything that is not Apple. Apple has the iCloud. That means it's somewhere in a cloud, whether you like it or not.
Right.
That was the only thing that bothered me with that book. Well, there were some other key points. The knitted tie. But that's not important. It's more personal.
I see.
Well, I do have one more book, and I think probably we're nearing the end of our time.
Yeah, I don't have any more, so that's like, you go ahead and finish this out, Alex.
The Invisible Life of Addie... Lori?
Addie...
Was it Lori?
Addie...
LaRue.
Addie LaRue. I was called Lori. It's an interesting book because this woman lives her life as nobody remembers her. So she's kind of immortal. nobody remembers her at all. The moment she leaves your eyesight, you forget all about her. And in the first chapter, it's so funny because she's like, "Oh, I need to change of clothes." She goes into a dressing room, changes her clothes, opens it, and then as immediately she comes out, the store clerk's like, "Can I help you find something?" She's like, "No, I'm good," and just like leaves the store because they don't remember her going into the dressing room with clothes. And it's actually about somebody who finally does remember her. I won't give too much detail, but it's a very well written book. I didn't know this author. She's got a few more books out that I've been wanting to read, but it's just an interesting thought to live your life as nobody remembers you, so you can't have any close relationships. You kind of don't have to have any consequences to your actions, though, because nobody remembers you. But it's also that disattachment to attachment to life. I think this would be really interesting to see as more of a movie than a TV show, because there's only so far you can kind of go with that premise before it'll like dry out, like we had mentioned earlier with the TV show. I think having it as a movie would be really cool. They could probably even pull out a sequel with it. I don't want to give
Mm-hmm.
too much away because I also think it's a really great read. It's well written. The author is pretty cool, and that is one of my recommendations for it should be a movie. And then also you guys should read it. Just go ahead and take a look at it. Look it up. Good Lord. I think it is ending our time.
It's well, it sounds like an interesting concept, and I know Book of the Month. You got that from Book of the Month, right?
Yes, I did.
It was one of. There we go. It was one of, if not Book of the Year for one of the one of the recent years. It was at least one of the finalists. If it didn't win, it was one of the finalists for Book of the Year. So a lot of people enjoyed it, and I'm pretty sure it was big on Book Talk too.
Yeah, so Book Talk's a good place to also get book recommendations and see. Although there's been a lot of drama on there, so I've been staying away from Book Talk for a little bit. It's like I just want recommendations. Although I love the drama, sometimes I'm just like, I want a suggestion of what to read next. I don't know what's going on here, but like, could you
Oh,
just recommend me something?
there is, sorry, one final one, but it's a quick one. It's called, I can't remember the name of the book, but I'll let you guys know afterwards. It's a very it's a I wish I remember the name of the book, but it's super quick. It's only about like just over 100 pages, but it's a collection of I want to say like 10 or so different stories, and they take place in different locations, but it starts in one location. You follow one character or multiple characters in one location, and then they travel to another location. And each chapter starts in that next location that they end in, but with a different person or set of people. But there is at least there's always one person who carries over to the next story, if that makes sense.
Reminds me of
So,
Southbound. If you ever seen that movie, it's a horror movie that has kind of the similar thing where like the story flows into a couple different locations, and once you get to one location, you follow another character to a different location
yeah,
from that previous one, which is interesting.
yeah. So I'd like to see a movie based on that, and I will find the name of the book. I can see the book on my bookshelf. I just can't read the title.
We'll put it in there later. But
All right. Well, that was our books that should be movies.
Very
episode.
chill discussion about literary works that you should be reading, or at the very least be intrigued by to check out.
Yes.
Comment below, tell us what books are literary things. It doesn't necessarily have to be novels. Comic books, audio books, whatever that you think would make a decent TV show or a movie, and tell us what you think. Or if you liked our recommendations, are you interested now to read some of the books we mentioned or anything like that? We'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, if you want to hear from us, socials or where you can find us, we'll start with Jonathan. Where can people find you?
You can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. You can also follow us at The First Ones to Die on all of these social platforms. You can email us, thefirstones2die@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback, your input, any questions. And if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. If you're listening to us on audio, your favorite podcast platform, go ahead and give us 5 stars and a rating. We would really appreciate it. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on TikTok, as well as the podcast TikTok, The First Ones to Die, where I post little clips of the episodes we are doing, as well as episodes we may be doing, past episodes, and just random things throughout the day. What about you, Jerome?
Well, you can find me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram, as well as you can find all of us on The First Ones to Die at all the social medias for sure. But also, please do check out, if you can, the YouTube channel and all of the fun stuff we got over there. We've got extra content that you can't catch on any of the audio streaming platforms. So stuff like video game content, vlogs, book reviews, mini reviews, and of course film versions of all of the podcasts that we've done so far, and of course upcoming ones. So go on over to the YouTube channel at The First Ones to Die to subscribe there, and also be on the lookout on our Twitch channel when we get that started back up again at The First Ones to Die Plays, so you can see more stuff that we're doing over there.
Nice. And we will see you all next week
for something.
It's a surprise. We'll see what's coming. We'll figure it. Well, we know, which is a surprise for you all.
Right. Bye, everyone.
But yeah, well, hold on. We gotta do it right. Help you have a good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon. My light's out. Like whenever you're listening to this, and we will see you for the next one. Bye.
And also treat your book spines with respect. Do not crack them. Like I keep saying. All right, it's a little last minute in there. All right, now bye.
Nice word to end on. All right, bye.
Go on over to the YouTube channel at The First Ones to Die to see all the fun stuff we got going on here, like mini reviews, book reviews, gaming videos, vlogs, all types of stuff.
Please follow us at The First Ones to Die everywhere. Go ahead and give us a like and subscribe.